Hi, and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and I am joined again by my lovely wife, Margaret Quinn.
Yeah, by joined you means I sat down at the dining room table. So yes, I am joining you once again.
Rather than still really being here, but just not on camera, which is almost always the case. Yeah,
it's true.
So you guys want more of Margaret on the show? Just so you know, it's really her just being like, nah, I don't feel like being on the show.
Yeah, because I'm trying to tell Chris, and maybe ladies out there can understand this. It takes me a little more. It takes a little more for me to be camera ready, if you know what I'm talking about.
And what I said, and guys, you can back me on this, is it doesn't show. I mean, just kidding. I kid.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
No, but there's a little more prep work involved for me, so your lovely wife. So sometimes I sit it out. But today I did not, and that's good because we have a special show.
Yes, it's going to be a two-part show. It's going to be the first in a bunch I'm going to do. I'm not going to go to series because I don't know if they'll be interrupted or not. They probably will.
True.
But it's just been way too long since we've sat down and really gone over some of these Belgian styles of beer. You know, we've done Saison and stuff in the past, but I mean, the heavy hitters, you know, the big styles that Belgium is known for.
And I think this is also sort of by popular demand. I mean, we've had a lot of people suggest a Belgian show, and you know, we have nothing against Belgian beers. We love Belgian beers, and it is a sort of a very much, you know, lacking part of the podcast.
And we've had sour beers, and we had Kriek and Gurza and stuff like that. So we've certainly had some Belgian beers, but when people think Belgian, they think oftentimes triples, Abbey beers, Trappist beers, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff on Abbey, or I should say Trappist ales, and that's what we're starting here. This is going to be a two-part show on Belgian Trappist Dubbels, and as far as I can tell, there are 6 Trappist Dubbels being made right now. These are 3, and we'll have the next 3 in the next episode. So, you know, you guys can do some math and figure out what we're going to have on next. But let's not talk about next show. But I want to do my shout-outs first.
Yes, shout-outs are very important.
Shout-outs, guys. For those of you who don't know, I like to give a personal thanks to everyone who leaves a 5-star review on iTunes. I think it's the least we can do for someone going out of their way, oftentimes creating an account just to do it, and telling us and the world what they think of the show. So, shout outs to Games People Play, Sir Junks-a-Lot, and M. Nuss. Really, really nice things to say, although Sir Junks-a-Lot made a comment about basically insinuating that I am a latent homosexual. Nothing against that, but interesting time and place to post that on an iTunes review. That said, it was a 5-star, and I've said before, you know, I'm a hooer when it comes to that. So, yeah.
And he gets points for creativity of his username, Sir Junks-a-Lot. I'm not sure what that means or what the reference is, but hey, you know, that's something you don't see every day, Sir Junks-a-Lot.
Yes, and it's not every day that you are put down in your own positive review. So
he liked me, though.
Yeah, true. Hopefully that doesn't become a trend. If it is, oh well, I don't really mind. So thank you guys so much for that. That actually, it brings us officially, as far as I can tell, as the most 5-star reviewed beer review podcast. So thanks, guys. I mean, we haven't been around, all things said, that long, so we've accrued these ratings and reviews pretty fast.
Yeah.
But you guys don't want to hear that. You want to hear about these beers sitting in front of us.
So let's get into it.
Okay. Where should I start? Should I talk about Trappist beers, Dubbels?
Why don't we maybe just start pouring the beers? And yeah, I think talking in general about Trappist beers is actually pretty interesting. So as we open, why don't we just start kind of rounding out the story there.
Okay, so I'll try to go, there's a little bit of background I want to talk about before we pour, but we can do that. I'll go quick, I promise. Trappist beers, okay? People have probably heard about them, but maybe don't know really the whole story behind them. It's interesting, the Trappists are not an order of brewing monks. They're an order of monks, and they are actually a very kind of devout, very hardcore order of monks. They have broken off from the Benedictines, whose whole idea was that somebody, you know, to work was to be happy, and that you should be self-sustaining. You shouldn't really rely on anyone for your own existence. So you should be able to, yeah, just take care of yourself. That just the process of helping yourself, helping others, and working hard will make you happy. So that was named after Saint Benedict. And then they broke off into the Cistercians, who said, you guys aren't hardcore enough, we need to get back to what St. Benedict was thought about. And they were even more hardcore. And then the Trappists came along and said, the Cistercians aren't hardcore enough. We're going to break off and do our own little sect of Cistercian monks called the Trappists. They were first in France at Abbey La Trappe, so that's why they're called the Trappists. And they're hardcore, man. I mean, they live in a very secluded life, very quiet life, and they're all over the world. Mm-hmm. It's not just Belgium. I mean, they're in America too. I was looking up some of them. There's one in Massachusetts, I think, that makes jams and jellies, and one in Kentucky or something that makes coffins. Wow. And I mean, they're all over the place, and they're just sustaining themselves through commerce. And it just so happens that in Belgium, it just lent itself naturally to brewing beer. Originally they didn't eat meat, so they needed, you know, this sustenance, so they pretty much had to brew beer, and they also had to take in travelers and aid travelers. And if you're going to do that, you pretty much needed beer, because water, as I've mentioned, you know, in other historic episodes, the episodes weren't historic, I was talking about historic types of beer, that, you know, the water wasn't good to drink back in the day. Yeah. So you had to drink beer. You know, you boil the beer and it became sterile. So they started brewing beer and they started selling beer. So that's the Trappist story. Mm-hmm. Very much interwoven. I think the first to start brewing was these guys here at Westmalle. Mm-hmm. They later, I think, went and founded Akel.
Right.
And then there's the Westphaletrans, and they founded Chimay, and blah,
a lot of intermingling for a group of devout people. There is quite a bit of intermingling.
Well, they're helping each other.
I know. It's speculation, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want to make underhanded comments regarding someone's sexuality. Now, would we, Sir Junks, a lot? No, but yeah, you can tell that there is quite a bit of overlap, and like you said, cooperation among the various sects.
And so, in order to be a Trappist beer, you can't just go and call yourself a Trappist product. In fact, you'll see on some, it says authentic Trappist product on most of these beers somewhere, it'll say. And it does have to be an authentic Trappist abbey, and you know, they've sued people for doing that. Mm-hmm. And basically there's 7 of them. There were recently 6. They kind of come and go depending on how, you know, rigorous you're being. This is the most La Trappe is the most La Trappe is the most recent. Koningshoven, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that from it's really recent, right?
Very recent, yeah. So, yeah, it's an appellation. It's not a style of beer. It's an appellation of beer. Trappist beer is not a type of beer. It's a style of brewing. And one of the things is the monks themselves have to oversee brewing. Mm-hmm. Now, what a lot of people think that means is that they have to do the brewing. And usually that's not the case. I mean, these are commercial breweries that the monks are overseeing. And what they mean by overseeing is just making sure that they have final say, they are the ones doing the final recipe tweaks, approving everything, and most importantly, approving where the funds go. Because they are non-profit, everything they do goes back into building up the abbey, building up other abbeys, and giving to charity. Mm-hmm. And they feel, why have a professional brew house brew these for us, like abbey beers do. They hire somebody, you know, a professional brewer to brew their beers, but the Trappists are saying, why allow these profits to go to these breweries, which when we can take the profits and put it towards what we want it to go.
And it makes sense. I mean, I actually do really respect that ethos, you know. Yeah, I saw some stuff saying, you know, Chimay in particular, I read, still does quite a bit of charitable work.
So they all do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're they're non-profit.
Right.
And well, they want to earn profits so they can be philanthropic with it.
Yeah.
So and that's important too. They want to make money because they want to.
It's as though you're buying the Newman's Own of beer.
There you go. So Chimay, by far the biggest of the Trappist breweries, the most well marketed, the most well distributed, and the easiest to find. I thought it would be fitting to start with that one, and their red is probably the classic beer that they're known for, and it is a double. So a double. I'm talking so much. All right, let's drink this, and then we'll talk about what doubles are. All
right, let's do that. Well, first of all, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a double, haha.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got that really nice kind of, you know, light red, deep orange color with some hints of, you know, like copper and stuff in there. It's just a really beautiful beer in the glass.
Very highly carbonated. These are all bottle conditioned. These beers, so you're going to get a lot often of carbonation. That's very typical of many Belgian styles and pretty much all Abbey style, Trappist styles of beer. So I'm almost getting like a little bit of like a candied nuttiness to it.
Yeah, you know what? That's maybe you just put that idea in my head. You know, it's sometimes you're so susceptible to the power of suggestion.
I know where you're going.
But you know what this reminds me of, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, so Chris and I went to the Great Taste of the Midwest this past weekend. I think gorped hardcore is the proper phrase on these candied almonds that were being sold. I think they may have been like cinnamon roasted, you know, candied almonds with this really great shell on them. That's what this beer smells like to me.
Yeah, cinnamon roasted candied almonds. Yeah. You definitely get that kind of molassesy candy to them. These beers almost all use Belgian candy sugar in them. That's not the rock candy that they use like a syrup that they call, it's basically sugar. They add sugar to these beers to boost the alcohol, keeping the body light. It's an adjunct. You know, people poo-poo adjuncts. These beers all have adjuncts in them.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, and you know, still yet world class, or I guess we'll find out. And, you know, I mean, the taste as well is really reminding me of those candied almonds that we had earlier in the week.
Yeah, like a candied, nutty flavor to it. What I noticed first was how creamy the mouthfeel is. It's light, but it's very, very soft. For the amount of carbonation is here, it doesn't feel like it's kind of prickling my tongue. It kind of washes my tongue very cleanly. Just a hint of bitterness on the back end, hardly any, just enough to kind of keep this beer from being kind of cloyingly sweet.
Yeah. And I do get a little bit of heat out of this on the very back end as well. So I can definitely tell that there's some alcohol in this beer. But you also
7%.
Okay, yeah. So it's not huge, but I mean, for some reason, I'm really picking it up today. And you also mentioned the word sweet, which I also think is a good descriptor. And I think that this is one of those beers. You know, again, kind of coming from a woman's perspective, a lot of women would probably enjoy this beer. Not to say men wouldn't, but a lot of women would enjoy this beer because it's not what they expect. It's a little sweeter. It's actually probably a lot sweeter than they would imagine a beer that looks like this in the glass to taste. So if you have friends or girlfriends or wives who may not like beer, try giving them a Chimay Red.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chimay Red, probably the quintessential, the archetypical Belgian Dubbel. Really the one that kind of put the style on the map. I really like this beer. It's easy drinking, especially at 7%. You could get yourself in a lot of trouble. That's another thing that these Belgian beers are known for, is their strength. I like this beer quite a bit. I'm going to go 91 with this beer. I like it.
I'll agree with you today.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing about Chimay is they also have a line of cheeses that they make. You mentioned that, not all the Trappists are...
And they wash it with the beer.
Yeah, exactly. One of the cheeses they wash with the beer itself, so, that's kind of a neat tie-in if you're into cheeses.
And an interesting pairing, too.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, we should probably do a show on that.
Sure, maybe we should. So before we move on, I'll get a little bit into what a double is. So originally these beers, people, there's a lot of misconception around the word double and triple. And there's a single as well, and there's a quadruple. People think that I've heard that it's re-fermented 3 times, or that it's got triple the ingredients to it, or it's triple the strength. That's not entirely the case. Originally, what would happen is they would do a single mash, which is when you crush the grain and add water to it and start making the beer. And then they would run the water off. And that would be the first runnings, it's called. And that would be the highest alcohol beer, the highest concentration of sugars. And that would be the triple. And that would be served, the different beers were served to different types of people, actually. I think the triples, don't quote me on this, were for the monks themselves. The doubles were for like special guests. And then the singles were for like the everyday drinking beer, and also for peasants and stuff like that.
And is that switched now? Because I see a lot that like the singles, a lot of the monks drink the singles now.
Nowadays.
Which makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't need it for sustenance anymore.
Right.
So they filled it up, they drain it, that's the triple. They would then take that grain bed, fill it up with water again, run it off again, brew a separate beer with that. A lower alcohol beer, that was the double. Then they would fill it up again, and by that time there wasn't much sugar remaining at all. They'd run it off again. That would be the single. So that is how the triple, double, and single came to be. So that's to put that to rest.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's right. Knock those rumors down.
Yeah. Doubles and also taste quite different from a triple. They're much darker in colors, the first thing you'll notice. I tend to get a more like dark fruit character from them, where you get more light fruit, bright, almost tropical fruit from a triple. Westmalle, probably best known for their triple. They're the originators of the triple, some would say. But we're not going to talk about that. We'll talk about their double. One final thing I'll say about the Trappist beers is they're not really... So the place isn't called Chimay. They're just named after the town that the abbey happens to be close to.
Right.
So this abbey is actually Abbey Squirmont. And this one, I think, is... Where does it say? It doesn't even say. Oh, maybe this is the monastery of Westmalle. So I take it back. But most of them are not named after the... It's just, okay, we're near the town of Chimay.
Right, I've noticed that.
A lot of them are Abbey de Notre Dame. So I know Roquefort is, and I think there's another one as well. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Westmalle with the classic, very famous bottle here. Fat Tire, a lot of the new Belgian beers have actually taken this. They pay Westmalle money to use that.
Yeah.
And around them it says New Belgium. At first they didn't, and these guys sued them or sent them a cease and desist letter. I mean, the monks don't play. No, they don't mess around about people playing with
well, like you said, they do want to make money. They have their own things that they want to spend their money on, so I can understand that.
So this beer is a more deeply ruby red. I'd say it's a more beautiful beer as well.
Yeah, it actually is, yeah.
Really just wonderfully clear, just kind of really nice blazing crimson, and a good tan head as well.
And as you mentioned, you can already tell it's very highly carbonated just by looking at it in the glass.
Yeah. So this is like candied cherries. I'm not getting that same nuttiness, but I'm getting a really pretty big wallop of, not those Luden's cough drops, but it's starting to get towards towards that, those candied cherry.
Yeah. I could see that. Definitely, much more fruity beer than the Chimay. A lot of nice dark fruits.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe even like, you know, currants or something, like even going beyond dark cherries. I just think like dark cherries, you know. Yeah, maybe grape.
And you get some booze as well. You're starting to get the booze comes through a little bit more than it does in these Chimays. So. So this to me is much more what I consider a double to be. That said, all these Belgian styles are very loose. The Americans are the ones who like to nail down what it is. In fact, most of the Trappist beers don't even call their beer a double. They do here, but we, the end consumer, are the one, they call this Premier or Red. Now, a lot of them just call it Red.
Yeah.
We're the ones who say this is a double, so they're not trying to go to a classification. That said, when I think of a double, this is more what I'm thinking.
There's a lot of booze in this,
yeah,
or so it seems on the taste. I get a lot of fruit. It is, and the mouthfeel. I mean, it is still, you know, very highly carbonated, but again, I think, you know, there's some softness in it as well, kind of, you know, luxurious in your mouth a little bit there.
Yeah, it's got a lot more, I think, of the alcohol. It's got that fruitiness to it, even a little bit sweeter, I think, as well. But the good thing is it's also more heavily carbonated, so that sweetness isn't cloying at all. It kind of gets scrubbed from your mouth by the carbonation. There is a little bit of bitterness on the end. Yeah. It's getting a hint, almost medicinal or aspirin-y on the back end, just a bit.
And that's what I'm having trouble with right now. It's like that medicinal thing that's going on for me that I'm not quite liking. And you know, maybe I'm just really susceptible to the strength of alcohol tonight, because this isn't a huge beer. 7%. I mean, it's not like me. I can hold my liquor. No, I'm saying, like,
well, they're lighter bodied beers as well, and they are. I mean, that's why they add the sugar to it. They want to boost the alcohol while keeping the levels down. And some of those alcohols will throw off, you know, some of those, you know, alcoholic flavors, I guess I should say. So some of those fruity, sometimes you can get some harsh flavors from it. I'm not necessarily calling that harsh in this case. I mean, I certainly like it more than the Chimay, quite a bit more. I think there's more going on here. I think it's just a more well-rounded beer. I really like this beer.
I like them both, but I think for me tonight, right now, the West Mull is tasting a little harsh to me. I think, you know, you said harsh, and I think that pretty much sums up, you know, what I'm feeling about it tonight. I also agree that there is a lot of complexity, because there's a lot going on here. The nose is really nice. The flavors, you know, you do get like those dark fruits and all that, but it just tastes a little harsh to me today.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm loving this kind of syrupy, candied cherry flavor without, you know, having that syrupy, gross, cloying aspect to it. Like this beer quite a bit. I'm going to go 93 for the West Mull Double.
Oh, so I'll go a little lower than you. Well, and lower than the Chimay for me personally. I'll go 89. I mean, it's a great beer. It's just something's not it's not firing on all cylinders for me tonight, I guess.
Okay. Another thing about these beers, I haven't really been going off the dates. Not entirely important. I mean, they will, because they're bottle conditioned, you have that yeast helping to scrub away any oxidizing, well, any oxygen in there, and it continues to develop as well. You know, they certainly do put best by dates on here, but they're just like really, really far out. So, I mean, I think I saw the West Mull says that it's best by
the Rapture.
Yeah, October 2013. So, you know, over another year to go for this beer, and I guarantee you, this beer is not. I mean, I've pulled all these beers from my cellar, I should say. So a lot of these have been sitting around for quite a while. I'm not excellent with kind of dating my cellar by when I bought them, but I would say these beers are all, I would guess, 9 to 12 months old. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Max has commenced snoring, so that's a good sign, actually. He's not running amok.
Yes.
Last but not least.
Yeah, it is Akko. one of the first brewers to begin brewing, but then ceased brewing for over 70 years. And came back and had people from, I think, both Westmalle and Roquefort help to develop their recipes, and they're back at it. Maybe, what was it, like 10 years ago or something?
I saw 1998 was when they started brewing again.
Okay.
Little interesting fact about the brewery, or the monastery, I guess. They, as you mentioned, they had been brewing, you know, for a while, historically, you know, in the past, and they had copper kettles that were stolen during World War I by the Germans, so they obviously ceased operation for quite a while because the stolen equipment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Aqua Brune, and it's the Brune 8. They also have, I think, a lower alcohol Brune, but this is certainly what would be the closest to what people would consider to be a double. You know, very classic kind of Trappist labeling, very austere, not showy at all. In fact, one that we'll have on the next show, West Veletrin, has no label. The beer does not have label. All they do is they put the differences on the cap. All the legal requirements are you know, fulfilled by the writing on the cap, and that's it. Many of these have no marketing department, don't want to have any marketing department. You know, they sell the beer, and that's it. So by far the most carbonated of the three. I mean,
yeah, you're
just
right.
in a tiny little pour to get like a rocky head.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's awesome, and it's nice and dense. Really nice looking beer, and even man, it might be even more brilliantly red than the Westmalle.
Yeah,
it's lighter, but it is like a crimson.
Yeah, I mean they are very similar. I think you're right. You know, kind of like that. Reminds me of like port a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, like a ruby. So I'm getting a, you know, there's some more. So you're getting like a grainy fruitiness here.
Definitely fruity. I'm trying to figure out what it is.
I'm getting grape, but almost like a sweet grape, not like an actual grape, like grape bubble gum, lending towards itself towards that, like a candied grape.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like grape soda. Yeah, definitely. You know, grape soda.
I'm also getting some floral aspects, some rose water there as well. Really nice. I mean, it's teetering on getting into the acetone, but it isn't. It's like just bordering there. There's some higher alcohols, but it's really only giving like kind of the more pleasant aspects to it.
Yeah.
You can tell that the booze is there.
Definitely.
You can tell that there's some underlying sweetness as well. Not the same nuttiness as the Chimay, but
yeah.
I mean, really a nice drinking, or a nice smelling beer. You know, you've got that floral, grapey smell. Man, tons of flavor going on, and it matches exactly what you would expect from the nose.
Yeah. Again, I think for me, this one personally, it's kind of going back towards the Chimay. I do get a lot of sweetness, but nice sweetness out of this beer. Not heavy-handed, not over the top sweetness. And again, those fruits are just really pushing forward for me.
Yeah, the fruit is really coming up big. You know, cherry, raisin, grape, some kind of candied qualities to it as well. A really nice, there is some malty graininess that I do get, and I like that. It's the thickest, the chewiest of the beers. Really depends on some of this big carbonation to help it from just kind of sticking onto your tongue.
True.
The aftertaste has absolutely no bitterness at all.
Right.
It's all just that kind of candied fruit flavors to it, and it's nice. I mean, this is something that I would love to have with some nice kind of like creamy cheeses.
Right. I know. I had cheese in my head since I started talking about the Chimay cheeses, and I think all of these would complement cheese really well. This one especially, because there is so much, you know, kind of underlying sweetness in it. I could see it going really well with the blue cheese or something like that.
What about a nice big steak with this?
I think that could work as well. Yeah, you know, the sweetness of this beer I think could really complement some of those charred type flavors in a steak.
Yeah, almost like, you know, you have those
caramelized flavors.
Yeah, those like marinated, like if you would marinate a steak in wine or something like that. Like I almost feel like if you had this and drank that, you would almost be like getting the same sensation and the same flavor as that.
Yeah, well,
but like a big, if you're gonna eat something, you want something big and kind of bold with these beers.
I think these are all, you know, made for hearty foods. I could see them working really well with a lot of fall type foods, you know, stews and soups and things like that, sort of heartier fare. So as we're getting into fall, keep that in mind. I really like this aqua beer. I think this is my favorite on the show today because I think it's doing everything that the Chimay did for me, but it's just doing a little better, and it's bringing it a little more, you know, to a different level of complexity than the Chimay.
Okay, and this one expires. It has expired, so this beer has expired.
So there's that.
So this beer, I would guess, is several years old.
Okay.
Would you ever guess it?
No.
No. No signs of oxidation, no signs of age, just really, really wonderful. It expired several days ago, actually, a couple weeks ago. There's times when you don't care. That's why I'm not really making a point of reading out the, like I do with the double IPA. I really want to know. It's not incredibly important unless you really, really want to say, okay, I want to age this beer. I want to see how this beer develops. Get the beer, it's going to taste fine, you know, unless it's been completely abused. What did you give this? I
haven't rated it yet, but I'll go 93 with this.
Okay. I'm also, well, you know what, I'm going to go 94. I do like it a little bit more than the West Small. Very impressed with the guys, the brothers, the bros at Apple. And you know, I think these three have set the bar pretty high for the next three that are coming up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so on the next episode, we'll have La Trappe, Roquefort, or Rochefort, depending on who you ask, and West Fletron. So should be very, very fun. We're going to give you guys every Trappist double that is being made. Hopefully we didn't bore you to death with all the talks. But, you know, it's one of the really more interesting types of beer out there. This Trappist beer, the fact that there are these cloistered monks that are brewing beer that you can go to the store and drink. And for more or less, you know, I mean, the what would you call it? The story behind it is true.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's cool. If you guys have not had a Trappist beer, you got to get one. You got to get one. You got to try it. I mean, a Chimay you should be able to find.
It's widely available, yeah.
In Chicago, you can find them in supermarkets.
Right.
So definitely go out and try some of them. And hey, if you want to know which one to try, wait till the next episode and, you know, grab some of them. Or if you have the means, you know what we're going to be drinking next. Drink them along with us and let us know what you think. That would be really cool.
Point. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just pop that West Fletron 8.
Yeah, it's so true.
And tell me what you think of it. So guys, thank you so very much for bearing with us. We have a lot of fun doing it, and it means a lot to me that you guys have a lot of fun watching the show. Anything else you want to add, my dear?
Signing off.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Until next time, we have some awesome Trappist Dubbel to drink, and hopefully you do too.